Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Whalenerds podcast. This is episode 10.
Woohoo!
I'm here with Eric and Katlyn.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
My name is Slater, and we had a couple fun, exciting things that we did over the week. I know Katlyn and I went to a Walrus talk, and Eric went to a movie or a showing on Rizzo's dolphins.
That's correct.
We'll do Eric first because, I don't know.
Because we want to hear about it.
Yeah, because we already know what we saw. We heard.
All right. Yeah, so I actually went to a showing of a documentary called Scars. And it's actually about some work a researcher did in the Azores with Rizzo's dolphins. Mm-hmm. And the cool thing about this documentary is I think it's simple enough where someone not even into marine mammals can sit there and really enjoy it, because it talks mainly about the social structure about these animals. And we learned some pretty fascinating facts during this documentary. One thing to make clear is a lot of the facts that they stated in Scars is based on the Rizzo's dolphins they see around the Azores. They're year-round, and they think that possibly, that the social interactions they see might possibly only exist with that population of animals because, one, we don't know that much about Rizzo's. That's why the person actually did this documentary and started researching Rizzo's dolphins in that area. So one of the few fun facts I know from watching this documentary, they're pretty long-lived. They're pretty slow-growing. I do know, I want to say the moms actually have the calves next to them for a few years, where some animals just about a year or so. With a Rizzo's dolphins, I believe it could be, I want to recall, she said maybe up to about 4 years or so.
Wow.
And they start developing that kind of Rizzo looking pigment usually at about 2 years is when they really start getting those scars and that white pigmentation everywhere. Also, they showed like a lot of type of interactions that we see out here, but we really didn't know what they're all about, such as animals coming up synchronized, sometimes in a pair, obviously, or sometimes even 4 or 3 of them together. So that kind of shows like a little bit of a type of interaction that they can do, kind of like, hey, you're my buddy, let's do some synchronized swimming together. Also, they do a lot of kind of a belly up type of swimming. I believe that was a sign of some dominance also. And also, another fun fact, they do believe that the more white, the lighter colored Rizzos are usually the males. The darker are the females. So They also show, I was laughing, I was actually sitting next to our buddy Chelsea over there, and they showed a lot of mating footage. And I kid you not, it went on for about 15 minutes. I was like, this is kind of inappropriate and fascinating. Yeah, so
this is a lot of footage.
Yeah, we all know that dolphins are in the sexual wise are sometimes pretty rough, but they showed one poor little female with probably a dozen males just going after her for an extended amount of time. So a lot of good footage, a lot of drone underwater footage, and once again they don't know much about Rizzos. That's why they do believe that some of the behaviors they saw over there might exclusively be, that population, that culture, over there. So our Monterey Rizzos might not act the same way.
It's funny because yesterday I saw a bigger pot of Rizzos. You know how we normally see 15 or 20. Mm-hmm. Well, yesterday we had a pot of easily over 150 together, and they were spy hopping, which was, like a full-on spy hop, straight out of the water and slowly sank back down, which was really cool. They were breaching all over the place. And then one of them was on their back for almost 3 minutes, just kind of peck slapping.
Exactly.
Just doing the backstroke.
So that
I took a picture of it. Maybe I'll do it as a thumbnail for this one.
Yeah.
But yeah. So what did they say about
that? That might be a sign of dominance from the males.
I think you said that to me the other day.
I
just called you because I called Katlyn. And I was like, this Rizzo's being weird. She's like, yeah, they think that maybe.
And very quickly, guys, the documentary is called Scars, and the woman who made it and all the papers were written by her. Her name's Karen Louise Hartman. If you go online, you'll find numerous publications from her about the sociology and and the ecology of these animals. And Yeah, I'm not sure if this documentary is available anywhere, to the general public yet. We got lucky enough that ACS Los Angeles was presenting it, so you never know. Might come to your city soon.
Hopefully. I want to see it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
me
great,
too.
guys. Yeah, I think Slater, you actually would enjoy it because of the. It was really neat. A lot of drone footage and also some underwater stuff, and yeah, pretty unique film.
Something that he was talking about, the staying with the mother for longer than 2 years. In that walrus talk that Katlyn and I were at yesterday, they were staying 2 years as well, right? And then belugas were staying pretty long as well.
Yeah, so certain odontocetes, they have a longer lactation period for the calf, and so like we know that with killer whales, like the calves stay with mom and could be nursing off and on for, in the wild, could be 4 or 5, maybe even more years. Like bottlenose dolphin tend to keep a calf with them for 2 years, and the calf will be nursing still for that whole time. But some species of dolphins, or harbor porpoise is actually what her best comparison was. Harbor porpoise, they're weaned after a year, so lactation and maternal care is pretty short, and then like bottlenose dolphins could be 2 years or more.
Wow, that's interesting. So basically, most of the odontocetes have a 2 year or maybe more lactation period.
Yeah, I would say so. And then that kind of led her into talking about the two different methods of like maternal care in marine mammals. Well, in all animals. So there's income breeders and there's capital breeders. The income breeders, and this is in regards to like lactation and foraging. So the income breeder does not store a lot of fat on its body like the sea otter, and so it has to constantly eat while caring for young and nursing. The capital breeder, on the other end of the spectrum, the most extreme is like elephant seals, or even I think Weddell seals fall into this as well. They will stay on the beach the entire time they're lactating and not forage at all. And so elephant seals only nurse for like 30 days, and then that's it. The pup is on its own.
And what's crazy is when she said that, then she said that then the calf is just on their own, sitting on that beach for another 30 days or longer.
Or 60 days.
Yeah, and then they go out to learn to feed on their own.
Yeah, so the elephant seals, so they get weaned at a month old, and by 3 months old, they've basically exhausted all of their blubber store, and so they have to go out and learn how to eat.
And what was the reason why they stay fast for those many amount of months? Was there a reason?
For them, it makes more sense because they're of the body size and ability to forage enough to stock up that much fat. That's just the most efficient method, is to just be on the beach.
That seems really short. Okay, I'm having a baby. It's 3 months old. Peace.
Well, it's a month old piece, and then I'm leaving you for 2
month
months.
Old. Sorry, 30 days old, and then it's peace.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
Yeah,
and
they
I'm
don't
gonna leave
teach
you on
them
a beach.
anything.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave you on a beach.
Yeah, and that's actually Dan Costa talked about that when he did an elephant seal talk a couple months ago for ACS Monterey as well. They're trying to figure out now how much is nature versus nurture as far as how do they learn stuff, because they get ditched after 30 days on the beach. Is there adults just kind of waiting around to show them what to do, or they just somehow are programmed to know how to find food?
I want to assume it's some sort of instinct to where to go, but then maybe once they're in that area, they see what other ones are doing.
Yeah,
maybe?
It's really weird with mammals. It's some just show straight out instinct to do things, but then you got animals another mammal, sea otters, where they pretty much learn.
They have to learn
everything from mom.
Yeah.
literally, how to groom themselves, food preferences, breaking open the food. So yeah, it's kind of weird how some can literally just pop out of mom, go see ya, and then you got sea otters that mom, you need to teach me everything.
Yeah.
How do I otter?
How do I otter?
So are penguins income breeders, or they're capital breeders? Because the mom they're not, it's not lactating, but they has to go all the way to the ocean, find fish, and then come back and trade, or the dad is going into the ocean, getting fish, coming back.
They kind of fall in between,
or is that just completely different
I guess.
because they're birds?
No, it falls in the middle. So, because walrus are the same way, right? They're in between income and capital breeders, is what we ended up finding out. They do store up some fat to then nurse with milk, but then after about 200 days, they have to go out and start foraging. They're out of blubber reserves. So penguins, it's they stock up, and then they come feed the chick, and then they trade off. So they kind of fall in between. But then they have two parents also caring for the chick, whereas most of the examples, it's only the maternal care.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's usually one. Yeah.
Yeah. So mostly they're talking about lactating mammals, and then a lot of the times for marine mammals especially, it's only maternal care.
All right. Yeah, because I mean, I understand that the penguins aren't lactating, but they're still having to, live
It's a
off
big
something.
investment. Yeah. Yeah, and they stock up on their fat layers too for holding out and keeping the chick warm during the cold breeding season.
Yeah, penguins are pretty good with that. Even an individual penguin, I know, for example, I think maybe most penguins do that, but focusing on penguins that I remember working with Magellanics, I know they do a thing where if they're going to molt, they know they can't go into the water because they don't have that feather layer, so they'll load up on food, plump themselves up, so they're really bright when it comes to budgeting their nutrition.
Do you recall how many calories a day the walrus eats?
Okay.
27,000? What was it?
So the original estimate that Dr. Noren came up with, because here's the problem with working with species that are kind of in inaccessible areas, is you have to try and make a model, and you may have never seen the animal before. Yeah. So Dr. Noren had never seen a walrus when she was trying to do this calculation. And so she estimated that a 2-year-old, so a newly weaned walrus, needs 37,000 kilocalories a day.
How many?
37,000.
Wow.
Which was how many clams?
Well, they eat 8 clams per minute, and she assumed they foraged, I didn't get it all written down.
50% of the time. So
yeah,
it was 12 hours.
Yeah, 12 hours of foraging. It was thousands and thousands and thousands of clams. But then her original estimate was that then a female that's pregnant and still nursing her first calf would need 127,000 calories a day. But that would mean that she's foraging for 24 and a half hours a day.
Yeah,
and that doesn't work. So what she figured out after working with walruses in captivity and getting some more observations from past pregnant walruses where they sampled the blood of the walrus every week in a captive situation, she was able to figure out that they stock up when they're about to give birth to a calf, and so they can then budget themselves to be able to sustain an 80,000 calorie per day energy demand. So they use some of their blubber, but then also will forage while nursing a pup. And sometimes the nursing period is 2 years, so sometimes she's pregnant with the next one while still nursing the first one. That's nuts to me.
So something that's a problem for these walruses is the ice is obviously melting in the Arctic, and they're having to travel further to get food.
Or go deeper.
Yeah, or go deeper to get food. And so they're trying to figure out if it's going to be possible for them to be on land and then traveling out 120 miles to go and feed on this food.
Yeah, so that's the other thing. She was trying to calculate their energy budget for the day, because that's assuming that they're only actively swimming for 80% of the day. But then if there's less ice and they're having to travel further between foraging areas and haul out sites, then that means they're going to be swimming almost all day. And so then that affects how much more energy they need to be able to sustain their daily activities.
Yeah, that is a crazy life to live.
One of the coolest facts about how she was figuring out the energy demands for a pregnant female is that they were able to estimate that a female gains 400 pounds in fat during pregnancy to prepare for lactation while on the breeding ground. 400 pounds!
And then it was with the baby inside her, it was what was it? It was almost, was it 600 then?
Yeah.
Because the placenta plus the baby weighed a couple hundred pounds.
Yeah, it was crazy. And interestingly, walrus are actually not currently listed on the endangered species list. And the 2017 report that went out for consideration actually wasn't very well written, so it didn't make a compelling argument to put them on the list, and so it's being reworked to try and better capture the issues that they're having. And I didn't know this, but USGS, so the U.S. Geological Service, is actually responsible for.
I don't
know.
I never even heard of that until yesterday.
Yeah, so USGS is responsible for sea otters, polar bears, and walrus, and NOAA is responsible for all the other marine mammals. I didn't realize that they weren't under NOAA's purview. And NOAA is the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. They also oversee the National Marine Fisheries Service within their jurisdiction, but USGS is its own entity outside of that. I had no idea that those animals fell under their purview. And it is important to the Arctic habitat to kind of figure out what's going on with walrus, and they are important to the ecosystem because just like our local sea otters in Monterey, walrus are a keystone species to the benthic habitat near shore for the Arctic. So when they dig with their tusks in the sediment on the bottom, the troughs they leave behind actually have higher species diversity of invertebrates right in the trough compared to sites directly next to the trough, because they're stirring up the sediment, and so that creates a different like perturbance in the ecosystem, and it actually ends up being a good thing. I still can't believe an animal that big eats clams. Well, their primary food.
Yeah, she said that's their primary food, but then there's other invertebrates like sea stars and little things like in the mud.
They eat sea stars?
Is it sea stars? Is that what she said? What are those other little crustaceans? Just crustaceans. Yeah. She said things that are in the mud, just like the gray whales, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I say that, and then in the same breath also realize like whales eat the tiniest things too, but it's like the walrus dig with their tusks and then like suck the clams up.
But then think about like the manatees, they just eat the grass on the bottom, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're not as big as a walrus.
Yeah, I guess they're not as big as a walrus. Those walruses are big.
And walruses also like walk around on land and stuff too, whereas manatees I feel like are more adapted to be completely in the water streamline. So if they're just foraging around on seagrass, then whatever. But
yeah, those manatees are really picky too. They only go after certain types of vegetation too. So
organic Jamba Juice, wheatgrass.
And a female, another interesting fact is females take 12 years to be at their full-grown body size as far as mass goes. So they're heaviest once they're 12 years old. And they actually also have incredibly high digestive efficiency. So even though they eat something very low, that has low calorie value, they're really efficient at using all the nutrients by digestion, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that was a lot of great stuff, the walruses and the rizzos. Learned a lot about both of those.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff I didn't know.
Yeah, for sure. It was interesting. That's also ACS's first time having someone talk about walrus, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah. Do you guys want to go back on, since we skipped some questions on episode 9, or didn't skip them, but we didn't get to them, do you guys want to go through some of these questions I have up here and go through some of that stuff?
Sure. Yeah, go for it.
All right, let's go with this first one. What are some cool and interesting interactions you guys have seen between cetaceans and other animals, like humpbacks accidentally swallowing birds or things like that?
I've actually seen... Oh, yeah, you actually just showed the video of sea lions, pretty much bouncing off of humpback whales' heads and stuff like that. I haven't personally seen one in the mouth, but there's a few people in our fleet that actually showed sea lions swimming out of the mouth of a humpback, and even a I think Kate, actually got that photo of that pelican getting out of a humpback whale's mouth. And
I've seen him let MERS out before too.
Can you guys explain to them that they can't actually swallow a bird or a sea lion down? Because people are always saying on me, like, oh my God, are they going to eat that sea lion?
So our humpback whales, as big as they are, the opening where the food goes down, I always like to say it's about the size of a grapefruit or a softball. So, and obviously these humpback whales are baleen whales. They got baleen plates, so they don't have teeth. They can't chew anything up. So an animal as large as a sea lion will actually, it's impossible for him to actually get it down.
His nose would just get stuck in the
But believe it or not, birds like MERS, and I think even some grebes, have been retrieved out of the feces of humpback whales. That's actually been documented up north. So most of our large baleen whales,
Oh, I didn't know that.
don't have
I didn't know that
don't
either.
even physically have the capability of swallowing something the size of a sea lion. But a bird, if the believe it or not, if the whale really wanted to, it can probably just barely get it down.
For some, I mean, I don't think they could swallow a pelican, but smaller birds.
But I can actually find the I'll try to look for that paper. There is a paper out there that actually has photos of the birds that are retrieved from the animal's feces. So smaller birds,
Interesting.
They could do that.
Well, I have seen them let smaller birds out before.
Yeah, me too.
Nothing as small as like an auklet, but I have seen them let a murre out. I think I've seen them let shearwaters out too.
If they're lunch feeding on a thick school of anchovies and there's a bunch of auklets or murres swimming around in there, then I mean it's bound to happen at one point.
I mean, I was amazed that it could even tell that the murre was in there because murres are pretty small, but I saw the murre jump out of the mouth and I was like, how did you even know that was in there?
Okay, guys. So I actually found the paper. I know a few of my good friends here know I always tell people they don't repeat anything. I can't back up with a paper, but this paper is called Molecular Identification of Seabird Remains Found in Humpback Whale Feces. Looks like it was written in 2013. Trevor Haynes, Matthew Campbell, Janet Nielsen, Andres Lopez. But you can see these photos of
weird.
in Alaska that were.
That is bizarre.
If you pull up the paper, you'll actually see the photos of the
digested birds.
They're just about a foot long. Yeah, the person put a ruler.
They mostly look like they were just passed through.
Accidents happen.
Passed through the digestive system, not actually.
Well, I change what I've ever told everyone, and I guess they can accidentally swallow smaller birds, but I definitely don't think they can get a pelican down.
No,
I would assume not. I mean, they're big.
And
We've seen them let pelicans out here.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. Well, I wonder also, so birds like murres go flightless in the summer after they've gotten the chicks off the nest. And so I wonder if that may be a factor too, because then there's not so much wingspan. And so even if the bird like freaked out and put its wings out, it could still get it down because those flight feathers are not on the bird at that time of the year.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously they can't get away from killer whales or anything else. I mean, getting away from killer whales is a big different story, but they can't fly though. I mean, like they're
flightless
it's like,
for
okay,
part of that. Yeah.
But the rhinoceros auklets can fly, and Eric and I watched that pod of killer whales kick this one auklet around for an hour, and it's like, dude, just fly. But he obviously was too full to fly. I mean, I'm guessing. Yeah. But by the time he got kicked once or twice, he probably couldn't fly anymore.
Probably so disoriented.
Yeah.
So that's another interesting interaction. We see killer whales use birds that are sitting on the surface as target practice. I've seen them kick murres around. Yeah. I've seen them chase auklets around.
What else have we seen out here?
Well, the sea lion humpback whale interaction is something that's becoming more and more regular.
More popular,
Yeah. And that's pretty cool. I mean, there's some footage I've seen out of Alaska of stellar sea lions doing that with humpback whales, but I've never really seen anything else like it anywhere in the world.
Yeah, I've only started seeing it the last 2 summers that I've been here, and Eric was with me for one of them, and I think you've been with me for one. But there was one time we were just watching humpbacks feeding, and killer whales came right through their area, and then another time we had killer whales attacking a sea lion, and then humpbacks came in and got in between the two of those going on. So
I've seen humpbacks herd a raft of sea lions around the other side of our boat when killer whales. So like killer whales were coming from the starboard side, and all these humpbacks and sea lions surfaced right next to the boat on the starboard side. And these 2 humpbacks escorted all the sea lions to the port side of the boat. They went across the bow and over to the port side of the boat. And it was like, I've never seen anything else like it ever again.
Yeah, I think that the killer whales and the humpbacks and intervening is kind of a crazy thing. And
it's happening around the world. That's what also is so interesting. It's this increasing phenomenon that's been documented all over the place.
Yeah, and what's cool about it is it's not just because of that. It's not just marine scientists, marine biologists looking at these humpback whales now. It's people like psychologists and even neurologists are looking at humpback whales and the way they think. There is some talk about the abundance of spindle cells in the brains of our humpback whales. Spindle cells are usually type of neuron that actually you think it's in part of the brain that feels empathy, love, sympathy, Yeah.
And I think I've heard people, maybe you guys even talking about it, that the humpbacks, you can hear them coming into the area. Like they'll trumpet blow and they'll do all sorts of stuff when a predation is going on. And I've seen them do it with gray whales in the area as well. And they think that maybe the humpbacks are doing it because they know that they're getting attacked, like their casts get attacked, or they get attacked in other areas. So maybe they're just like, they just hate them altogether. I'm sure they don't like them.
Yeah, what you brought up is exactly right. Yeah, there's some people thinking it's not just...
It's just neighborhood
it's
watch.
Just, it's just an instinct thing. Like, we always don't want those guys around, so we got to just get them out of the area.
Yeah, it's interesting, though. I mean, that footage from Antarctica where the humpback whale is on its back with the sea lion on its belly, and it's got its pec fins up. That was in that Pittman paper that came out. I mean, to me, that's just unreal. The amount of like evasive behavior the humpback whale did on behalf of the seal to keep it away from the killer whale.
That's one case that, in my opinion, that takes some thought process there.
Yeah,
that's a little bit more instinct.
That's pretty sophisticated.
Yeah.
What about other interactions?
Oh, but really quickly, guys, I actually saved that paper. So any of you guys know me, I can forward that to you. And keep in mind, like I said, the humpbacks aren't purposely ingesting these birds. They just happen to get in there. So
we might be able to find a way
cool
to
pictures.
Put it on the Podbean site too.
That's what I was trying to say earlier. It's like there's like you remember we put the books and stuff.
Yeah,
we should start citing the
Yeah,
we may be able to upload it as a PDF. If not, we can put the URL.
Yeah, just put the URL.
Yeah, I even have a brief little list of papers from the
Rizzo.
Yeah, that Karen lady wrote. That's just amazing. Like I said, she has just dozens of papers out there with really good facts about these animals and their social interactions.
I'm trying to think of what other interactions we have.
I know we see so much out here; it's hard to pinpoint them right now.
I mean, humpbacks and sea lions is a cool interaction in itself. I don't know if we talked about that in other episodes, or maybe actually in 9. I think we talked about how you can look for the sea lions.
Oh, coming up, and then
and is it strictly cetaceans of other animals? Is that what we're focusing on?
We could expand.
Mollusks, sharks.
Oftentimes, I think a lot of people just don't even realize that this is an interspecies interaction. Oftentimes, when you have a big pod of dolphins, especially if they're foraging, there are sea lions in there too. And so that's a pinniped tagging along with an odontoceete.
Okay, I know a funny interaction. Whenever you see Pacific white-sided dolphins in Southern California, there is always one sea lion. I swear, I'll put money on it right now. There's always a sea lion with Pacific white-sided dolphins.
That's funny.
And you know how it is down there. There's not very many white-sided. It's like smaller groups.
And
like
I think we're usually getting the ones we see in Southern California. There was talk that we're seeing a lot of the pods that frequent Baja. And that's why it's more seasonal for us. It seemed like it was more seasonal for us, so isn't it down there?
Just winter, it seemed like, but now they're seeing them a little bit more. But yeah, I swear there's always a sea lion with the dolphins. But that's not a weird interaction. Like, that happens here almost every day in Monterey.
Yeah.
But yeah, for down there, it's funny that there's...
I'm trying to think.
I think I talked about this in another episode when we were talking about elephant seals, I think. But I had seen... one time I went down to the boat and the slip next to ours was empty, and a juvenile elephant seal and a juvenile harbor seal were just like following each other around the harbor. When they're on the beach, they seem pretty standoffish with each other, but these two were just like hanging out.
You know what?
It was really cute.
I've seen that many times, which is weird. Now that you bring it up, it might be, I don't know why those two will sometimes be with each other. I mean, we've seen it right there at Hopkins. I've seen it even in over there at Piedras Blancas. I've seen a harbor seal pop up in the rookery. Yeah, it's like, what are you doing, buddy? Wrong seal.
Yeah, I mean, they're just probably cruising the coast, and they're like, well, I'll check out these things,
But then when those big males come up on the beach on Hopkins, they cause a ruckus. All the harbor seals flush off the beach.
Oh, they do?
Yeah.
Last time, so when I walked by there with my wife and her friend, the big male elephant seal was at the very top, like right where the green ice plants start. He was all the way up, and then there was 15 or 20 seals at the bottom.
Really? Some days they'll have photos and videos where the males are coming ashore and they're just causing chaos.
So it's probably once they get up there, they know they're not going to run after them, and they stay lower on the beach or something.
Yeah.
I would guess.
And then I actually had an intern a couple years ago who was trying to answer the question of what is the relationship between albatross, especially black-footed albatross, and killer whales. Because in the spring, we do see albatross a lot. I know you guys saw some the last few days. Yeah. I saw one last week. And like 90% of the time when you see killer whales, you also see black-footed albatross.
Or opposite, when you see the albatross.
And sometimes albatross are a good indicator that there's killer whales around.
Yeah.
So that's another interesting interaction. Do the albatross actually make an effort to follow the killer whales because they know a high-fat food source is coming their way? Or is it just coincidence because they smell the oil? That a student was trying to answer that question a couple summers ago, and I don't think he really had enough data to make it very conclusive, but it's a very high rate of them being in the same place at the same time.
Have you guys ever seen northern right whale dolphins without whitesides?
I have not personally, but I've heard reports of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sure it happens. I've never seen northern right whale dolphins without whitesides.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen times. I think the time you got really mad at me, it was just them. Yeah.
Oh, for the picture?
Yeah.
I'm like, why did I get mad at you?
Like, why did I lose a follower?
Really, really big herds of northern right whale dolphins with only a few whitesides, but I've never seen one herd of just right whale dolphins, but I've heard other people have seen them.
Yesterday, we were leaving gray whales to go to a big pod of Pacific white-sided dolphins that the other captain said they just like scattered out of nowhere. He said there might have been a few northern right whale dolphins, so I was like, please, let's go there, but we ended up coming across a humpback that was tail slapping, so we didn't get to see the dolphins.
The only time I've ever seen like a real serious feeding effort where the whales were next to each other, that was 2 different baleen whales, was fin whales and humpbacks. Actually, it's probably the only time I've seen fin whales feed with other whales besides occasionally blue whales, but these whales were like in echelon together, like feeding like together on the same bait ball.
I was gonna say, because you on the all-day trip, you were with me when we had the blue whale, fin whales, and humpbacks.
Yeah, but these guys were feeding at the surface.
And last summer, really, I'm surprised you don't have a shot of it.
Yeah,
we had a blue and humpback lunging on curl together last summer.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen them.
Yes, it was when
I've seen them all in one area.
Yeah, one shot. I had both whales lunge feeding. I was like, what?
Were you on the high spirits?
I think I was with you.
Maybe not.
I think I was with you.
Because Kate was out there one time, and we had the same thing. Humpbacks and blue whales were lunge feeding. It was an overcast.
It was doing these side lunges.
Yeah.
The blue whale's obviously bigger. Then there was a humpback parallel to it. I was like, this is happening.
The parallel thing. Like, I've seen all 3 species in the same area feeding on something, but like these whales were like in
surface
formation
feeding
together, surface feeding. And I've seen fin whales and humpback whales do it. I've seen blue whales surface feed near humpback whales, but not like in tandem together. That was pretty nutty.
That's my goal, is to get from the drone a blue whale and a humpback side by side lunge feeding on a big old pile of krill.
And I'm surprised you didn't have your drone up that day. Yeah.
No, there was a day that I had the drone up.
It was really foggy.
It was overcast, and I couldn't see the blue. I couldn't. It was just like it was too spotty. They were random. It was so random. I couldn't.
Yeah, I remember a lot of people were out there. Ron and Jane on that little private boat were out there.
Yeah, okay, so that's the exact same day I'm talking about.
Yeah, yep, it was a good day.
Yeah.
What about... Have any of you seen... Well, okay, you could do this either way. Sea lions eating sharks or sharks eating sea lions.
That's so weird. I was literally just going to say, is this weird?
Seen both.
Well, it's weird because people always think like, oh, sharks eat sea lions, which yes, is true. But sea lions that are big can eat a smaller shark.
Yep, I've seen it go both ways.
Are you big enough to eat or be eaten? I've seen sea lions eat sharks, but I have never actually seen a predation of a shark on a sea lion while out on the boat.
Yeah, I've been lucky enough to see sea lions. I saw sea lion back in Southern California eat a thresher shark. That was amazing. I've also seen them go after smoothhound sharks and spiny dogfish. And then literally just 2 months ago, I finally saw the other way, big white shark go after either a sea lion or an elephant seal, just a little bit south of Año Nuevo. So, yeah, seen some interactions between those animals.
Yeah, one that I can think of that I've seen quite often in Southern California is sea lions eating thresher sharks. And I don't know. I feel like I talked about this on one of the podcasts.
Maybe.
The early one, one of the first or second ones. But yeah, these sea lions, like a group of males, grabbed 3 or 4 thresher sharks all within like 10 minutes of each other. Like really close to each other. And they just, they ate them. And it was crazy.
It was a group of sea lions?
No, it was like one sea lion had one, another sea lion came in, and he got his own.
Wow.
It must have been like a school of threshers down there or something.
That's intense.
Yeah, so one of them was already being eaten, And then the next one I got was he brought a fresh one up to surface, and then he tried to throw it a little bit, and then he slipped, and the thresher swam down, and then he brought it back up, and then he full on had it by the gills and just went and ripped the gills right out. Like
interesting.
And then the thing just
You know what I just realized, guys? That you mentioned that it seems like when we see our lunge feeding, have you noticed like all the sea lions are about the same age and size?
Yeah. They all seem like they're big ones.
I'm just wondering if we have some pinniped experts here who can do different age groups feed together? Are the males bigger, mature males? I mean, I know they like to be I know they like to be on their own, but do they hunt alone too? Do they feed alone too?
I feel like from the drone when I see them, I feel like it's a lot of males in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're all also the same size.
Yeah, or it just looks like that.
I know certain animals are like that. And speaking of sharks, like leopard sharks, someone realized that leopard sharks, when they're like in schools, there's never more than a foot difference in sizes. They kind of stay together.
Yeah.
So what? The thresher sharks? Do you know if it's like kind of like the small great whites here at Aptos? Or are they babies that are in by the beach and then they go off?
I don't know enough about threshers.
I've seen them eat thresher sharks here in Monterey Bay.
Seen them eat them, but I'm not sure. Yeah.
I'm sorry,
if
leopard sharks.
Up.
The leopard sharks. Do the leopard sharks grow to a certain size and then leave from the beach, or I feel like they're always at the beach.
Yeah, because they're also
leopard
common
sharks,
in estuaries.
Yeah, they're in the shallower areas.
Okay.
Yeah, they're not going to find them offshore.
What they eat, right?
Yeah.
Like they eat like little crustaceans and mollusks.
Back home they're always in the back bay, further in the back bay, in the harbors and stuff like that. So yeah,
because we have the great whites here, and they're here because they're juveniles and they're feeding on like the surf. I don't know if it's
juvenile anchovies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are they feeding on surf perch yet?
Yeah, they're going after surf perch, young rockfish. They'll go after rays, small flatfish in the surf line. Yeah.
And then they'll move slowly offshore as they get bigger.
Yeah, like I said the last episode, the dentition starts changing about 11 feet or so. Broader teeth, more serrations, and you get that body weight where it can go after the bigger animals.
Yeah, I was going to say they also can thermoregulate a little better because they're bigger in size. They don't have to stay tied to that little pocket of warm water anymore.
You know what's something that's kind of cool? The jellyfish blooms that we have here. Mm-hmm. I don't know about them happening. I know they happen in other areas, but this is the first. I mean, I've seen them, in Southern California, like randomly. You see a couple moon jellies or like a random purple jelly shows up. But really, here in Monterey, you get those big, huge blooms of the nettles, the purple striped jellies, or the moon jellies.
Yeah. Sometimes you get big blooms of cross jellies too.
Is it the little cross tops?
Yeah,
like at
really
the top?
see-through
Yeah, I've seen a couple
ones.
of those.
Yeah, really small. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of a cool.
Salps.
It's not between two species, but it's a cool interaction.
Well, sometimes we'll see mola mola feeding on them.
Oh yeah.
I like it when they miss. Does that mean? I think it's so funny when they miss and they realize and they have to do a hairpin turn to try and get it.
All right, guys. So pretty much at the end of every episode, we always ask you guys to ask us questions or topics that you would like brought up. And one of our listeners, Antonio, thank you, Antonio, asked a pretty good question. He wanted to know, in general, these animals, cetaceans, migration routes, patterns, how they learned them and stuff like that in general. So most of our cetaceans do migrate. A lot of them will spend time in a feeding ground or in a breeding ground, and they usually spend more time in their feeding grounds than their breeding grounds. That's for most species. And what happens is some people like to ask the question, how do they know where to go? Is it just instinct? We believe yes. Sometimes it is just instinct. We also, in some cases, think that some of our cetaceans out there are kind of like what I mentioned about otters earlier, are probably learned it from that mother. A parent actually taught them that exact migration route. We also think that some of these animals are mammals, and even other animals that there might have the ability to sense, electromagnetic fields. Obviously, we're mammals too. If you talk to an anthropologist, they say humans, we rely so much on maps and other things that we've lost that ability. There's some cultures out there. For example, there is one island out in the South Pacific where there's people out there who don't have the technology we have. They refer to directions as north, west, east, south. They, still have that instinct to kind of just feel what direction is which. So if you continue using it, you can probably, find your way or feel your way around. These people don't say right or left; they say east or west, or whatever direction. So, man, I gotta look that up too. I forgot which island it was, but these people are really good navigators too because of that. But we have a feeling that some of our animals can sense that. We know that with, for example, like, this is not a cetacean, but leatherback sea turtles have a gland on top of their head. Pineal, I might be saying it wrong, pineal or pineal gland, that actually, when sunlight touches it, will actually kind of make it produce a hormone that kind of say, hey, I need to go here, I need to go there. So there might be numerous ways these animals are triggered to move. There also still might be numerous ways they know where to go. So every species is a little bit different. A lot of us like to talk about gray whales when it comes to migrations out there. They have one of the greatest migrations out of all animals out there. We do think that Katlyn might be able to touch more on this since she worked with one of the gods of gray whales out there. But we do think that gray whales probably learn from mom, or even it might be semi-visual. I've noticed, especially, we brought this up many times during this episode, especially as Californians, have you noticed everywhere that's called a point is usually a good spot to see a gray whale? Do they, look for these points? Is that why they, breach or spy hop at times? We just don't know. So there might be numerous ways certain whales are figuring out where to go and when to go to places.
Yeah, I think, especially for gray whales, because they're such a coastal navigator, I think some of it's sound too. Like hearing the waves crashing on the shoreline.
Hey, you guys always say that. They really think they can hear the waves that well?
Yeah.
You can hear everything.
Yeah. And then there's other work that's been done around Monterey Bay, where they were, I think it was Monterey Bay. It's somewhere where there was a deep water crossing just not too far ahead. And they were recording the vocalizations of gray whale mom and calf pairs, and they were vocalizing quite a bit, and then they got to the point to cross over the deep water, and they stopped vocalizing. And so there's definitely there's got to be a maternal component of like, okay, we have to be quiet until we get to the next safe spot. Like, we're talking now, but then like it's complete silence once you get over the deep water, and that's to avoid detection by predators. So there may be some teaching, and there may be also some like, okay, when we're going down, you got to keep it on the left. When we're going up, you got to keep it on the right. And that's how you do it.
Yeah, a lot of a lot of us who are a lot of you listeners are probably obviously listening because you're into bio, but hormones are triggered by certain environmental signals. The length of day, the daylight. Obviously that triggers these animals. To go, okay, hey, it's that time. So there's numerous things out there that could trigger the start of these migrations. Could even be temperature. They say the prevalence of ice, the daylight, and the temperature is what triggers gray whales to start their migration. And on years where the ice takes a long time to build, the gray whales are usually late for migration because they've gotten so far north feeding.
And what is it? Like the leatherback turtles, they're born on land, they hatch on land out of the eggs. And they know to go towards the beach. I mean, that's instinct, right?
The exact beach that they were born at.
Yeah. And then also that. They know where to go and do this when they're old enough.
So when Scott Benson gave a talk a couple years ago about leatherbacks, and when they hatch, they're so small that they're basically plankton. They can't swim against the current. So wherever the current pushes them, they develop they lay down this chemical signature of that route. And that's the route they will always take the rest of their life to get to wherever they found food and then back to their home beach.
That leatherback turtles really do interest me. I would love to go see them when they hatch, because it's crazy. How many feet back off the shore do you think it is? Have you ever been to an area where they hatch?
No. Not to a leatherback area.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure I heard that it's a decent amount of
it's quite a ways up the
space,
beach.
And they got and I remember them saying something like in this documentary, or I don't know what it was in, but about the moon, like they knew which way to go towards the moonlight or something, because some of them are going at night too.
Yeah, some turtle nesting areas, like in Florida, when I went down to Sanibel Island, they actually asked the residents to turn off all of the municipal lights and all their house lights when it's turtle nesting season, so that the turtles will go towards the water because they're following the moonlight. And if you have the street lights on, they'll go towards the street.
Yeah.
Yeah, light makes a big difference. This is not really having anything to do with migration, but yes, sand temperature is also really important to them too. So there's numerous factors of what beach day they show up at. But leatherbacks, yeah, it's amazing that you ever look at a picture of a leatherback, the back of their head, you'll see that little pink spot. That pink spot, they believe is kind of like a window for light to kind of.
It helps them figure out which way is up when they're
to
underwater
kind of exposed to that, the sunlight exposed to that gland that's under there. Also, another cool thing about that pink spot is it's always a different shape, so it's also used for ID purposes too of individuals out there.
And, sorry. Well, those leatherbacks that me and Eric saw because we're pretty cool like that.
Whatever, you guys.
We saw so many.
Be quiet.
But wait, so they migrate from, here off the West Coast all the way to where? It's really far.
Indonesia.
Yeah. So, and is there another population too of them? Or
they have them in Costa Rica?
Yeah,
right?
there's numerous ones. We got some, believe it or not, our population is not doing too hot. The female count is very low. The reason why I say female count, because think about, folks, male sea turtles, it's very, 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 very rare that they come to shore. You only see that in the Hawaiian Islands. Most other sea turtles, the males never come to shore. So when you're counting turtles on land, it's most likely, anywhere other than Hawaii, it's going to be a female usually. So the female counts are really low. That population that nest in Florida, believe it or not, is doing, I don't want to say very good, but decent. So,
is any animal doing very well?
Gray whales are doing okay.
I should have said that.
Western gulls.
There is a few animals, but a lot of the marine mammals aren't doing that well.
Yeah, but this leads us actually to another good thing that we should probably bring up. We're talking about migrations, and just because an animal migrates one way doesn't mean its counterparts are going to be doing the same. Don't forget that some of our animals have different populations. They're going to go to different directions at times. Humpbacks are, a perfect animal to bring up. 14 different populations, all with different places that they're going to feed and also breed at, and different distances to cover.
You know what I like to say on the boat, which I think makes people's brains hurt a little bit, is even though whales are always moving from a cold water area to a warm water area, that's their, they're going from high latitude to low latitude for feeding and breeding. All of the whales, regardless of the hemisphere, are moving north and south at the same time. Because the southern hemisphere whales are up near the equator, so they've gone north, while our whales are returning to the feeding ground. Yeah, and people are like, wait, what? I'm like, yeah, think about it. They're going for opposite purposes, but they're traveling north and south on the globe at the same time.
Yeah, that's a pretty interesting way to see it.
If you think about it, you really could just go from breeding ground to breeding ground, or feeding ground to feeding ground.
Actually, Costa Rica, they say they have whales pretty much all year because the two different ends of the globe have breeding grounds there.
That's funny.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. So, yeah, these migration patterns are always varying between the different populations out there. There's a few extreme cases where some of these animals have found a comfy spot and actually sometimes won't move. Me and Caitlin just read that one paper about the Pacific Coast feeding group gray whales that actually have one member that stayed off of Oregon or Washington almost the entire year because plenty of food.
Well, we had humpbacks do that in Monterey Bay the winter of 2014 going into 15. We saw more humpbacks than gray whales a lot of days in the winter.
Were they the younger ones or there's some bigger ones mixed in?
That year there was quite a few young ones, but there were some full-grown adults that stayed. There was 25 or 30 humpbacks in the bay all winter.
In my first year here, 2016 or 17? 16. Yeah, we had them November, December. We had them pretty good into the winter, but then they left.
Yeah,
but they made it pretty far in the winter, and there was a couple around.
There was
I remember
one
them lunch feeding on the beach late,
right, and that November, one of them was
December,
super pregnant too. And I was like, at one point, I was like, this whale needs to leave because it did a tail throw at one point, and we were like, oh, that whale is for sure pregnant. Also, why are you still here? You gotta go.
Yeah,
she's like, I'm hungry.
And another thing that's kind of a generalization, but kind of an accurate and good one is these whales will usually feed in a cooler area. Cooler areas tend to be more biologically active. There's a number of factors that are because of that. Cooler water tends to have more dissolved oxygen at times, and because of that, life just kind of really flourishes. Your plankton is obviously going to be nice and healthy. Your plankton could be feeding bigger food sources like krill here, anchovies. So that's obviously whale food. So cooler water tends to be areas where these whales feed. Warmer is also a good place to give birth, and there's also reasons why that is good too, because your calf is usually going to be young and skinny, so being born in warmth is obviously going to be a lot more comfortable.
Yeah, there's also, so Jim Sumich and I talked about this. We talk about this quite a bit. Almost every time I see him, we geek out about this. So culture in whales, I think, plays a big component into your established migration destination for the breeding ground, right? Mm-hmm. So with gray whales, we see a lot of calves born on the southbound journey now. The environment is more favorable temperature-wise for a calf to be born pretty much anywhere. Once you get south of Washington, I think the water is tolerable enough temperature-wise that the calf can survive. However, that didn't used to be the case. There used to be ice all the way down the coast there during the last glacial maximum, which gray whales lived through because they've been on this earth for a long, long time. So, of course, you're like, dang, we got to get all the way as far south as we can get where it's warm because we're going to freeze our tails off. So then you also think about this storm surge and the effect of swells on a whale that is not strong at swimming. So even though they could have a calf in Monterey Bay and probably just hang out here all winter, the swells, when we get like 20 to 30-foot waves breaking at Point Pinos and a calf that doesn't know how to swim, that's going to be a lot of work for the mom to keep the calf up at the surface. So that's another motivation to be in that shallow water lagoon because you're not subject to that kind of wave action.
Yeah. Now that you mentioned that, you look at that Pacific Coast feeding group. I mean, that probably wasn't just lazy whales. That was smart whales going, you know what, there's food down here, and why am I going to go past that rougher area and maybe more, there might even be more predators up there. You mean, think about it. We all watch like Deadliest Catch, we all know going through that strait right there.
That's where they're at.
Yeah, going through that strait right there, it's rough water, and you're going to take your calf through that to get up to the Chukchi,
Yeah.
So maybe that's why some
of
these
it could be predator
whales have stayed down.
Predator aversion, it's the effects of the wave action and the temperature kind of all have compounded. But it's also like this cultural agreement of like for tens of thousands of years we've been going to this spot. We all agree on this spot.
And I checked my old notes. In fact, I told Slater, and we were almost like what? I think it was like 2 years ago at the Southern California Marine Mammal Workshop. I think Dave Weller said that possibly up to 35% of gray whale calves are being picked off right there through the Bering Strait. So
I think I've heard that before.
Even when they're already pretty big.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's like, why go through there? There's plenty of food back there. It's calmer, a little warmer. Let's stay, towards Vancouver or Northern California.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I knew there was a percentage. I thought it was like 10 or 15% that was getting picked off. But yeah, 30, that's a lot.
I mean,
I couldn't believe it. I was like, whoa.
This last time when we saw Jim at the Marine Mammal Workshop a couple of weeks ago, he even was like, I don't doubt it if you start seeing gray whales like hanging out in Monterey Bay during breeding season. I was like, whoa there.
Speaking of getting picked off, it would be really nice to go watch them get picked off. Sorry, but under the ice. Like, I think that's really crazy. I heard that they sit under ice and wait for them and do some like, what is that? Like,
they like, wait.
I wish you could all see the motion Slater's doing that. Magic?
They use the ice as like a blind.
Yeah, like surprise. Yeah, like they surprise them out from under. I heard. I don't mean it. This could all be. You know what, dude? If you guys saw my hand signals, you would have got it.
I was like, magic? What? Steal third base?
Anyways, do you guys know any places up there? I heard it's like there's a name for it.
No.
Come on, you guys are supposed to know science.
I don't know.
Bering Strait?
No. It's like something past. Like it's a.
Yes.
Scary name they call it.
That's true. Let's try and Google it.
Dead gray whale pass.
I don't want to see them die. I just want to see I guess I want to see the predation.
I guess you do want to see him die.
I mean, you do,
no, I'll cry, dude.
I don't want to see him die. I just want to see the predation.
Okay, I just want to see killer whales next to ice. Leave me alone.
Well, yeah. I mean, I feel like you always want to see whales with snow in the background. That's like always on your list.
I don't know what. I just want to see snow.
Is it Unimak Pass?
That doesn't sound evil enough.
No, it's not. It's like
something ominous.
Yeah. You know what? I don't know, but I'm just saying we should go somewhere with ice.
If somebody thinks of it, message us. Yeah. Slater always wants to see whales with ice in the background, so if you can help him out with that, let him know.
Hey, you know what? This humpback breached just high enough when I was in Iceland that you could get like a snowy peak. And that made me so happy. So I have gray whale flukes with like, what are the mountains behind Orange County? I can't think
Saddleback?
of Saddleback, yes.
Yeah, I got offshores. Yeah, just put that old picture of offshores in Saddleback. It's like, yeah, they do show up in Orange County.
Yeah, it's funny because people like Mark Gerardo got a picture of he took a picture of the Newport Pier with the snow in the background.
Yeah,
and he was
yeah.
like, why are you photoshopping the snow in the background? It's like, no, it actually
It's
snowed
like
there.
coldest February ever, yeah.
Yeah, that's funny.
All right, so yeah, that was a great question on migrations and populations. That we can go off on so many other subjects.
So many
about
different
that
routes.
matter. Yeah,
Well, and
exactly.
The interesting stuff too is a lot of it we still don't know because they use so much offshore space.
Yeah,
I've
exactly.
seen humpback mom and calf pairs more than 100 miles, maybe even 200 miles from shore. I can't remember exactly where we were.
Especially, these humpbacks in the Pacific. They're getting their populations are getting, pretty hefty. And as what John C. said, the Pacific is pretty much their playground.
Yeah,
now,
it's humpback whale playland.
Yeah, they more animals. Obviously, they're gonna be more spread out.
And some books even say fin whales might shift their breeding location based on prey availability. Somehow they're able to communicate that to each other. And I don't know if that's, I'm not exactly sure what led them up to that conclusion, but there's no documented fin whale breeding area. Like blue whales, we think they go off the coast of Costa Rica, even though we see them in California, but fin whales, they don't even have a location listed.
Yeah, that other day when we were at the conference, there's even talk that we got fins that are just kind of literally just almost resonant to certain areas right now. We do know certain fin whales are just frequenting the Southern California area a lot, and I'm actually interested in seeing this summer. When we go a little bit further offshore, we can get some photos of the fin whales we see and see if they're the ones, also hanging out in Southern California.
Yeah, I mean, we had one year, I think it was 2016 in the summer, right before Slater got here, we had the most fin whales that any of the skippers, and some of them have been driving boats for over 50 years, more fin whales than we've ever seen before in Monterey Bay. And we also had a lot of krill early in the season, but also consistent into the fall. And we don't really know what happened.
Yeah, I think Slater was with me that one all day. Didn't we have 7 or 9 fin whales?
We had days where we had 20 fin whales and 5 humpbacks.
Wait, let me go back to something. Did you hear that? Right before I got here? Is it right before I got here, the sperm whale showed up?
Right before you got
here, the beaked whale showed
up? That was
up?
literally right before you got here with the sperm whale.
No,
that was a month before.
I've had days in Newport where we have 5 or 6, but yeah.
I mean, some nights we had 15 to 20 fin whales and 5 to 10 humpbacks. It was just insane.
What was it not this last one, so 2017 October, we had the 50 blue whales show up.
Yeah, actually you guys
it was,
that was last November. Yeah,
and then
November.
you guys saw them
right.
through Thanksgiving. We saw them through Thanksgiving too of 2017.
I mean, that was a lot.
It was like a lake.
Blue whale. Yeah, you were there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had Nathan Kelly was on the boat and he shot the white side.
Yeah.
Blue whales, white sides, calm water.
Yeah, we had blue whales every month of the year in 2017, I think. Almost.
Yeah, we had a lot of blue whales.
That was very interesting to have that many whales that late.
Yeah. As I always say, hey, I got a paper for you guys. I was just briefly talking to Katlyn about the fin whales that kind of stick off Southern California. If you guys are interested in looking for that paper, a group called Marine Ecology and Telemetry Research, they actually released a poster, and I think a paper also on those fin whales that are frequenting Southern California. I know we got a lot of listeners from that area, so they might be interested to know that, you might be seeing the same fin whales over and over again. So that famous whale, Fluky, he might be someone that stays around there, and it seems like he really does, or she, because we see that whale almost year after year.
At ACS, we also had kind of a cool insight into winter habitat use of bowhead whales from that one talk where they put a hydrophone in an area where they're like, oh, we don't know if there's bowhead whales here. And then they had continuous bowhead whale song for months.
Wait, they sing too?
Yeah.
They got cool vocalizations.
Really
I know they vocalize, but they sing like humpbacks.
Yeah, so then they were like, wow, this is actually a winter habitat for bowhead whales. We had no idea because we can never survey here in the winter time. And then the hydrophone actually is the reason why they even knew that information.
What area is this again?
I forget. Let me find my notes.
Yeah, I'd like to go visit.
Hopefully they're still there. I can't get to.
I know. Hopefully they're still there when I get there.
Gosh, I look at these places like that. Somehow people get. They're like crazy remote. You know, like Paul Nicklin gets there, and I'm just like,
yeah,
how are you getting up there?
This was Kate Stafford's work. Let's see here. I don't think I listed the exact area where they deployed the hydrophone. But they really weren't expecting to hear anything, and they heard mating calls very consistent and very clear for weeks at a time, which was really fascinating that they just like unlocked this major secret about
and we
where
do have
the bowhead whales were.
Different populations of bowheads up there, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's some that I know aren't doing too hot.
Yeah, and the same thing with the different populations of right whales. They don't overlap habitat in the winter as far as we know. Definitely not in the Atlantic because they do document them pretty well off the coast of Florida.
They're seeing a lot this year. Actually.
Yeah, they're having lots of calves this year, which is good. I don't know. They do a lot of aerial surveys for right whales, so they must migrate fairly close to shore.
Well, the last footage I saw was, I want to say it was about just 10 miles offshore or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's with a calf, but even when they're traveling, like humpback whales often are breeding... Often, but not always, breeding near shore. But they could be hundreds of miles offshore while they're making the trek. Like I think about some of the North Atlantic humpbacks. They could be a couple hundred miles offshore, but then maybe they're breeding, close to the Dominican Republic. Or they're out at Silver Bank. Yeah. And the humpback whales from Alaska going down to Hawaii, they're usually breeding near shore, but they've crossed the entire open ocean from Alaska to Hawaii. Or taken some kind of like zigzag route. Head inland and then head back out.
All right, well, that is an interesting question that we got on the migratory patterns.
And the jury's still out on a lot of animals. We still don't know for a lot of them.
Like blue whales, I mean, they kind of just go where the food goes, right?
Yeah, we sort of speculate there's like another small upwelling zone off the coast of Costa Rica where there is enough food there for them to aggregate.
Oh, that's a good documentary. If you guys want to watch a documentary, it's on YouTube. It's called The Kingdom of the Blue Whale.
Yeah, Kingdom of the Blue Whale is great. Yeah. It was a Nat Geo show, and it features John Kalmakidis from Cascadia. Yeah, and he literally follows the whales, all the way down there to the dome. Yeah,
and that's where they think that the blue whales are giving birth down near the Costa Rican domes.
Yeah, mm-hmm. And one thing that they learned, as Caitlin just said, we always think of our humpbacks and blue whales, feeding up here, breeding down there. But blues, it turns out, they're eating year-round.
Well, there's kind of like an upper limit of when you can be fasting for that many months. And blue whales are beyond that. They're too big. They can't fast for 4 months. It's not possible because of their size. Body. Yeah. Sperm whales are another one that the males migrate. The females tend to stay towards the equatorial regions, but the males will go all the way up towards like the polar latitudes like Alaska and I don't know if they've been documented further north than that, but they, steal sablefish off the lines.
We're literally talking about like 3 or 4 species and there's so many more.
I know, yeah. And there may be seasonal patterns that you may not necessarily call migration for like dolphins. Like you're more likely to encounter them in this area of their range during this time of year, but I don't know if you could call that migration necessarily. It's not really tied to breeding.
I've always wondered about that. Like, for example, when we always get the question here in Monterey Bay, when's killer whale season? And it's like, I don't know if you can really call it season.
It's more food driven. You guys told me
to say 1 to 2 times a month, which was true until this flipping summer.
Well, it was so rough. I bet they blew by us and we're just
they're here. We just miss them. But like 1 or 2 times a month, and then October, November. You always tell me that maybe it's because the elephant seals are coming back to the rookeries. Mm-hmm. They kind of come in near there, which we didn't have this year. And then April, May, the gray whales come up, the mom babies, and the killer whales come then.
It's more like 1 or 2 times a week then, where it's more common.
Yeah. So, I mean,
it's food
technically
driven,
every month of the year you can see an orca here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's not really migrant. They just travel up and down the coast.
I mean, it's the same thing with Rizzos.
Right.
You're more likely
100 plus miles a day of moving around. Yeah.
You're more likely to see the Rizzos when there's a lot of squid around, and then if there's not a lot of squid, like where do they go? Do they just go further offshore? Do they go somewhere else? We don't really know.
I just want to hang out with them for a day.
Rizzos or
any of them? Like while they're going somewhere. Like I just want to see where they go.
Yeah, and how they figure it out.
I mean, a lot of times they're probably just going, 50 miles down the coast, like the humpback or something, when they leave. But other ones, like the dolphins, where are they going when they go straight offshore? Or like, how many times you said you've followed the killer whales into Carmel Canyon at Carmel Bay, and then they go outshore and then they're gone? And I've lost them there a couple times too.
Yeah.
Where do they go? They just disappear out into the ocean.
Interesting, like, 3-way ridge down there, and like if they're following the ridge, first of all, you have 3 options. So now you're one boat, you don't know where to go. And then if they're not following the ridge, then you have no reference of where to even look for them.
Yeah. Well, you know what, you guys?
What?
This was 1 hour and 5 minutes.
Woo!
wow.
So I think we should probably end it here because people are gonna like give up halfway through this one. It's so long.
All right, let's call it.
Yeah, keep sending us questions though, because that's some great stuff.
Yeah,
that
you guys
are
are
asking us.
Yeah, great questions that I can see. We can really talk at length about some of them.
And a lot of these questions, even if we don't know, it's cool for us. It gives us ideas what to look up, and we get to learn more too. So I learn a lot from these podcasts, that's for sure. So thank you so much for all those questions and comments and feedback. Make sure you guys are following us on Instagram at the Whalenerds. And then we're trying to get our YouTube set up so that they'll all be on there as well.
Yes.
And we'll try to add some of those resources that Eric has onto the Podbean website. And thanks so much for listening.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, guys.